Welcome to another immersive journey through time, where we uncover the ashes of history. This is AI Historical Reconstruction, presenting London. Imagine a sprawling city built almost entirely of timber and pitch, a medieval labyrinth waiting for a single spark to ignite. The summer of 1666 had been incredibly dry, turning the wooden capital into a vast tinderbox ready to explode. Streets were so narrow that neighbors could shake hands from opposite windows, creating a perfect path for fire to jump across. As the sun set on September 1st, the city slept, unaware that the coming dawn would bring an end to an era. Our story begins on Pudding Lane, at the bakery of Thomas Fariner, where the ovens were still hot from the day. In the dead of night, a neglected ember slipped from the oven, landing softly on a pile of dry wooden kindling. It started as a whisper of smoke and a flicker of light, a small accident that would soon consume a city. The baker and his family woke to choking smoke, barely escaping with their lives by climbing through a window to safety. Once outside, the fire met the strong wind, transforming from a house fire into a hungry beast seeking more fuel. Neighbors rushed with leather buckets, but the heat was already too intense, and the water supply was pitifully insufficient. The Lord Mayor was summoned to the scene, but he famously dismissed the danger, claiming a woman could piss it out. His tragic hesitation and refusal to demolish houses to create a fire break allowed the inferno to gain an unstoppable momentum. By morning, the fire had outpaced the firefighters, spreading rapidly west and north, fueled by warehouses full of oil and pitch. The riverside warehouses, stocked with combustible goods for trade, became fuel for the fire, creating explosions that shook the ground. Panic set in as citizens realized the fire was not stopping, clogging the narrow streets with their most precious worldly possessions. The smoke was so thick it blocked the sun, casting a terrifying apocalyptic gloom over the city for miles around. Even the birds were not safe. Pigeons hovered about their burning nests until they scorched their wings and fell into the flames. Families were separated in the crush. Cries for help were drowned out by the roar of the fire and falling timber. Brave men tried to pull down houses with fire hooks to starve the flames, but the wind carried sparks over their heads. The wind acted as a cruel messenger, carrying burning embers across the city to ignite new fires far ahead of the main front. The fire reached London Bridge, destroying the buildings upon it and cutting off a vital escape route to the South Bank. As night fell again, the city was illuminated not by the moon, but by a wall of fire stretching across the horizon. Samuel Pepys, a naval administrator, watched from a safe distance, recording the tragedy in his diary with a heavy heart. He described it as a most horrid, malicious, bloody flame, not like the fine flame of an ordinary fire. Pepys famously buried his Parmesan cheese and wine in his garden, a desperate attempt to save luxuries from the approaching doom. King Charles II finally intervened, sending in the royal guards to help the exhausted citizens fight the overwhelming blaze. They resorted to drastic measures, using gunpowder to blow up entire rows of houses to create a gap the fire couldn't cross. The boom of explosions added to the terror, sounding like heavy cannon fire, making many believe the French were invading. The fire showed no mercy to the holy sites, consuming 87 churches, their stone walls cracking under the intense thermal shock. Ancient bells that had rung for centuries melted into shapeless lumps of bronze, silenced forever by the ferocious heat. All eyes turned to old St. Paul's Cathedral, the spiritual heart of the city, believing its stone walls offered sanctuary. Booksellers had filled the crypt with their stock, hoping the thick stone walls would protect their precious literature from destruction. But the cathedral was under renovation, surrounded by wooden scaffolding that caught fire and acted as a ladder for the flames. The fire reached the roof, and the lead tiles began to liquefy, raining down molten metal onto the streets below. Witnesses described a river of molten lead flowing down the streets, glowing red and silver, forcing everyone to flee in terror. With a thunderous crash, the roof collapsed, and the books stored in the crypt fueled a firestorm within the holy walls. The destruction of St. Paul's was a psychological blow, signaling to the people that God himself might have abandoned London. The River Thames became a desperate highway of salvation, clogged with boats carrying frightened families and their few remaining worldly possessions. Those without boats waded into the water, standing in the mud for hours to escape the unbearable heat radiating from the shore. Tens of thousands fled to the open fields of Moorfields, camping under the stars, watching their homes turn to ash. Rich and poor were now equal in their misery, huddled together in the fields, uncertain if they would ever have a home again. On the fourth day, the wind finally died down, allowing the fire breaks to hold and the soldiers to contain the spreading flames. The roar of the fire faded into a crackle, leaving behind a silence that was almost as terrifying as the noise. The scale of destruction was unimaginable. 4/5 of the city was destroyed, leaving a blackened scar where London once stood. 13,000 houses were gone, 87 churches were reduced to rubble, and the Royal Exchange was nothing but a shell. Citizens returned to the ruins, their faces masked against the dust, searching desperately for remnants of their former lives. Miraculously, the death toll recorded was incredibly low, though many believe the poor died unnoticed and unrecorded in the chaos. King Charles addressed his people, promising not just to rebuild, but to create a new city that would defy the fire. New laws were immediately passed. The era of wooden London was over. The new city would be built of brick and stone. Enter Christopher Wren, a visionary architect who saw the blank canvas of the ruins as an opportunity for architectural greatness. The rebuilding effort was a monumental task, requiring labor and materials from all across the country to restore the capital. Wren's masterpiece, the new St. Paul's Cathedral, rose from the ashes, a symbol of resilience in the city's unshakable faith. The new streets were wider and straighter, designed to prevent fire spread and improve sanitation, modernizing the medieval city layout. A massive stone column, simply known as the Monument, was erected near Pudding Lane to permanently mark the fire's origin. It stands 202 feet tall, the exact distance from its base to the bakery where the fire began. London did not just recover, it thrived, becoming a global center of trade and finance, stronger than it had ever been. Today, the Dome of St. Paul still stands proud, a silent witness to the destruction and the rebirth of this great city. The Great Fire was a tragedy, but it was also the crucible that forged the modern metropolis we know today. From the ashes of despair, the people of London built a legacy of endurance that has lasted for over 3 centuries. We remember the fire not just for what was lost, but for the incredible human spirit that refused to be extinguished. Thanks to witnesses like Samuel Pepys, the terrifying events of those 4 days are preserved forever in the pages of history. As for Thomas Fariner, he claimed until his dying day that his ovens were cold, denying responsibility for the catastrophe. Generations of Londoners have grown up in the shadow of the fire's legacy, learning the lessons of the past. The rains eventually came, washing away the soot, but the memory of the Great Fire is burned into the city's soul. The architectural shift from wood to brick changed the face of England, influencing urban design for centuries to come. The disaster also gave birth to the modern insurance industry, as citizens sought protection against future calamities of this magnitude. Metal fire marks can still be seen on older buildings, a reminder of the time when fire protection was a private enterprise. The River Thames flows on, a silent observer of the city's triumphs and tragedies, carrying the stories of past. When you touch the stones of London today, you are connecting with the determination of those who rebuilt from the dust. Walking the path from Pudding Lane to St. Paul's takes only minutes, but it represents a journey of recovery taking decades. Modern science confirms that the combination of drought, wind, and city layout created a perfect storm that no one could stop. The sound of hammers and chisels replaced the crackle of flames as the city transformed into a massive construction site. Although Wren's grandest plans for a grid system were rejected due to property disputes, his influence remains undeniable. The interior of the new cathedral was designed to be filled with light, a stark contrast to the darkness of the fire. Stone guardians now watch over the streets, silent sentinels ensuring that such a disaster never consumes the capital again. Life returned to the city center with a vibrancy that proved London was more than just buildings. It was its people. Today, we sit in coffee shops on streets that once burned, oblivious to the terror that occurred on this very ground. History has a way of turning tragedy into art, allowing us to look back at the horror with a sense of wonder. As the sun sets over London tonight, the orange glow is no longer a threat, but a beautiful end to the day. If you climb the 311 steps of the monument, you rise above the city, conquering the memory of the fire. From this vantage point, you can see a city that has survived wars, plagues, and fires, standing taller than ever. The Thames continues to bring the world to London, just as it did when the warehouses on its banks were bursting. Today's London Fire Brigade is one of the best in the world, born from the hard lessons learned in 1666. We have come a long way from leather buckets and hand squirts, ensuring that a spark can never again destroy the city. Through the changing seasons, the city adapts and evolves, covering its scars with snow, leaves, and the bustle of daily life. Every brick in the historic district tells a story of survival, a testament to the decision to rebuild rather than abandon. The bells of St. Paul's ring out across the city, a triumphant sound that replaced the terrifying roar of the flames. The people of London today are as diverse and dynamic as the city itself, united by the history they share. We study these events not to dwell on the past, but to understand the foundations upon which our present is built. In the span of a few days, the medieval world was swept away, making room for the birth of a modern capital. Just as the ash settled and nourished the soil, the destruction of the fire provided the fertile ground for innovation. Christopher Wren's vision gave London a skyline that would be the envy of the world for centuries to come. The dome stands not just as a church, but as a monument to the victory of order over chaos and destruction. We now light up the sky with fireworks to celebrate, reclaiming the night from the terrors of 1666. By teaching our children about the Great Fire, we ensure that the courage of those who survived is never forgotten. It is humbling to think that a simple loaf of bread in a forgotten oven could change the course of history. Fire is a good servant but a bad master, a lesson London learned at a terrible price 3 centuries ago. As we walk these streets, we tread in the footsteps of those who fled for their lives, carrying their hope with them. Pudding Lane is quiet now, just another street in the financial district, hiding its explosive secret beneath modern pavement. From a medieval town of wood to a global empire of stone and glass, London's journey has been extraordinary. Time moves on, but the Great Fire remains a pivotal moment, a dividing line between the old world and the new. The story of the fire is a reminder of our fragility, but also a celebration of our incredible capacity to rebuild. As lights flicker on across the capital tonight, we can sleep soundly, knowing that the watchmen of the past are with us. London is truly the Phoenix City, having risen from its own ashes to shine brighter than it ever did before. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the flames and into the heart of one of history's greatest comebacks. We have witnessed the spark, the chaos, the destruction, and finally, the glorious rebirth of the city of London. Let us remember the resilience of those who lost everything, yet found the strength to lay the first brick of tomorrow. The sun will always rise on London, casting its golden light on a city that fire could burn, but never destroy. If you enjoyed this historical reconstruction, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more journeys into the past. Check out our other videos to explore more lost worlds, ancient battles, and the defining moments that shaped our human story. Your support helps us bring history back to life. Leave a comment below on what event we should reconstruct next. Until next time, keep the flame of history alive. This has been AI Historical Reconstruction. Goodbye and take care.